22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
What you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from.
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
We struggled as a strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Yes, a great Monday morning, everyone. Of course, a rainy morning in most states, particularly across the FCT. If you live in this part of the country, of course, it's better experienced than told, as they say. But what can we do? We have to be here. The show must go on. They say, I am Uyi Agmofwegbe. Jomai, Mansi, and I will run the show this morning.
Exactly. Good morning to each and every one of you. Good morning, Uyi. How are you doing
Good morning, Jomai. I'm doing great.
It's a beautiful rainy morning, though it has stopped, but it's drizzling a bit. Like I said, rain is one of my best weathers ever.
I'm glad it didn't knock you off this morning.
No. It almost did, and I was like, oh no, the rain. But the show must go on. We have to be very professional. We have to be here to do our bit, and of course, we have viewers who are beckoning that we're here today. So we're here, and we're here to do our bit. That's the most important.
First working day of the week, like Jomai said, we're here to do our bit, and we hope you do yours too. Ours will be essentially to keep you meaningfully engaged here on Global Television, where we're live from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. Just a quick reminder that we're on DSTV channel 365, Star Times channel 276. You can also catch us on Night Concert, free to air, wherever you are across West Africa and even a little beyond that. The goal is just to give you as many options as possible in terms of being able to access our content and news rounds. Just to let you know that we also have papers for you in the course of the program this morning. We'll look at national dailies. What's the news saying? What are those things that have happened over the weekend, and how are they shaping conversations and narratives? Of course, you trust Global Television to be able to put that right in front of you. We also have two big conversations in the course of the program today. But first, there have been many events coming from last week, particularly, during this last weekend and so on and so forth. We are now done with elections in 3 states, but we have 2 elections coming up in 2 other states, September and November. Edo first on the 21st of September, then Ondo will follow on the 5th of November. But in all of this, it just also shows that Nigeria is moving. Nigeria is not the same today as it was in 1999. No. You know, I think once in a while we also should step on our brakes and be grateful for how far we have come, even though we know there are so many problems in this country today that have to be addressed. You were talking about fuel a while ago, how it impacts public transportation and all of that. But in spite of all that, it will amaze you the millions of Nigerians that will still turn up for work today without an excuse.
Exactly. And the most important thing is, like you said, we've gone past where we're coming from. We've gone past all of these issues on ground that we had, and now people are involved into a new era. Everyone understands that issues must go on, life must go on, situations must go on. With all of that, where are we now? We should be grateful that we're not where we used to be. We're moving forward, and that's how Nigeria is. That's how we are now, and that's what we should always look up to, which is very important. I
totally agree with you. The only sad thing is hearing that resident doctors are going on strike, starting from this morning, and it says nationwide strike. Jomai, that is particularly disturbing, especially when you look at it from the standpoint of the fact that we already have a healthcare system that needs help. Some experts have even called for a state of emergency to be declared in the health sector. All right. Recently, we've seen how even the astronomical increase in the electricity tariff has also impacted the health sector. I mean, when some of the teaching hospitals, federal medical centers, let's not even mention state general hospitals, tell you what their monthly energy bill is, you'll be shocked. All right. And then now you're adding strike to it. What happens to babies in incubators? What happens to people who have been scheduled for very critical surgeries? Some, you may say minor surgery, but some are very critical. Some probably are supposed to go under the knife, as they say, in the next 24 hours or so. But now the strike kicks in, and you can only imagine the adverse impacts that it's going to have on our already troubled health system.
This is so unfortunate, really, it is. And then for most of our doctors who have, in quote and unquote, jackpot, now they will tell you there are colleagues who decided to stay behind because, in that jackpot era, some doctors are patriotic. They'll tell you, no, I will not go, I will stay. I won't, because when you look back and see where you're coming from, some of these doctors, their parents didn't actually fund their education. It was communities that came around, family, friends, members.
Even governments at some point.
Government at the point. So their way of giving back, despite the turbulence in the health sector, they decide. I know a doctor, 2 or 3 of them, who says, Jumai, listen, the truth is I love Nigeria and I know that will be great. If every one of us leave, who will take care of our people that are here? I know 3 doctors who are very patriotic. So it's unfortunate when you see or they hear this sort of things. Their friends who have jackpot, it's a very painful thing when someone says, I told you so.
I told you this 9 years ago.
I told you this. Where we would have all gone? You said you wanted to stay behind. Now see, there's no way forward. It's so sad that with all of these things that are happening in the health sector, government would have done, at least made it regrettable for those that have actually jackpot. Given
to rethink their decision.
Exactly. To rethink and say, oh goodness, I wouldn't have even gone out of the shores of Nigeria. I would have stayed to impact, put in my own quota.
Right.
But it's just unfortunate that these other doctors that are here are it's still the same thing. It's still the same pattern. The strikes, the healthcare sector is nothing to write home about. It's just unfortunate, really, and I really feel sorry for these doctors. But I hope that the government intercedes as quickly as they can, because health is very important. We mentioned yesterday on Global Morning, it says health is wealth. If you're not healthy, you cannot function. And we need these doctors. They're very important. They're one of the key sectors in Nigeria that, of course, babies are born every single day. People go under the knife people fall sick every single day. So who is going to attend to all of these people? It's just unfortunate. I'm not happy about this. You can see there's no big smile on my face.
And to think that this is all happening in the middle of this outbreak of Mpox is another concern altogether.
In fact, it is a major concern. And we know that Mpox have been cited in some cases, in some states in Nigeria. This is a very big health concern. And you know how, you heard the doctor, the one we interviewed 2 weeks ago, and said how Mpox is contagious.
Yes.
And we have to be very mindful. So please, the federal government should act very swiftly, as fast as possible, really.
It's a shame that we have had in this country in contemporary times a former Minister of Health who told Nigerians that the fact that you studied medicine, you trained as a doctor, is not a guarantee that you should work as a doctor. You can go into agriculture, go into some other things. He said that on national television. And you're wondering the kind of signal, very extremely negative signal that sends. Because as of today, Nigeria has a gap in terms of manpower within the healthcare system,
yes,
even
true.
before the jackpot phenomenon
very
became a thing.
Very true.
And then a health minister, somebody who's supposed to be, as it were, the midwife of the health sector,
role model,
exactly, come tell you that, look, even if you study as a doctor, what's the big deal? You can be a cobbler after all. You can be a cab. You see, the thing is, the kind of narrative we have is a problem, sometimes even more of a problem than the real issues themselves. And that's has a way of shaping our reality as a country. And at that level of leadership, if that's the narrative we're pushing, if that's the sort of conversation we're having, it means we have a much bigger problem on our hands than we readily realize.
Yes, and it's just unfortunate that I know doctors spend 7 years.
Sometimes longer.
Sometimes longer when you talk about the strike and all of that, the residency and all of that, to put in that effort. It's not in the pigeon palace, it's not something that you can just wake up and say, hey, I'm a doctor. There is a process, a very long process. So for you to come out and say that, we're not talking about what he did, was something he said a long time ago, but this sort of thing rings a bell. We do not forget such words in a hurry. So you have to be very careful on how you portray yourself. Leadership is key. It's not everyone can lead, but it's not everyone that is a good leader. At the same time, there are so many things that you need to put in place. These are people that take words very seriously, especially when it comes out from the mouth of someone that's of prominence. It's very important that we put all of these things into check and understand the efficacy in which it is. It's very sad when you hear things like this. It's not encouraging, and you hear, that is why a lot of doctors, there's nothing to look back to. They just feel once that slight opportunity comes, finding that better means of livelihood outside the shores of Nigeria, they do not look back. They just grab it and they go. So it's just unfortunate.
We had an incident in this country, that should be sometime in 2021, 2022, when some doctors from off the shores of Nigeria came to Abuja here to recruit medical doctors, right? And doctors queued up, fell over themselves. In fact, somebody on X, then known as Twitter, had said that she noticed someone who had taught her in school, in med school, was also queued up to be recruited, right? So that's how crazy it gets. But in all of this, we must begin to ask ourselves, are we ready to get serious as a country? But the good thing, again, hopefully we find some solace in that, is the fact that the Minister of Health and Coordinating Minister of Social Development, Dr. Ali Mohammed Pate, just told us about a fortnight ago that, look, we're coming up with a policy, which we understand it has been approved by the president, right? To say that, one, it will address issues of these exodus of Nigerian doctors, all right? This migration kind of thing. Not just doctors, other healthcare professionals.
Of course.
Whether they're nurses, pharmacists, you know, those who are in medical biology, and things like that, the laboratory scientists. I mean, keep them at home. The goal is not to make it impossible for them to leave, because that would be draconian to do, all right, because people have the right to work where they want to work and things like that.
Better means of livelihood.
Yes, but I think what that policy is aimed at in the final analysis is to de-incentivize the urge to want to travel abroad for greener pastures. I remember one time, God bless her soul, Professor Dora Akunyili, you know, talked about how that she had been in the U.S. one time, many years ago, and she ran into this guy who had been trained as a doctor. And the guy was working as a photographer in the U.S. And the guy told her, because this was actually the crux of the conversation, the guy told her that he found more fulfillment being a photographer in the United States than being a medical doctor in Nigeria. You see, these things may not sound palatable, but we must find the courage. And as they say, we must man up to take the truth, the bitter truth in it, and use it to better our lives as a country. Nigeria is too big a country to be complaining about basic things such as doctors running away. They're actually running away, they're not just living.
Yeah, they are.
But it's a problem we must find a way to solve. And this new policy framework hopefully will address to a very large extent some of these teething problems.
It's very important it is addressed, because really, like I said, the health sector is one very important aspect of our country for the benefit of every individual in Nigeria.
Right.
So it should be addressed as quickly as possible. Other sectors are important, but you see, the health sector has to do with life. Life is very important. So we need to address it as quickly and as soon as possible.
We should, by all means. But as quickly as possible, too. We're taking a quick break here on the program. When we return, we'll bring you a couple of segments. Of course, Global Morning continues. thank you for staying with us, everyone. Let's turn to the papers quickly for you. First we have here is the Daily Trust newspaper. The big story on the front page of the Daily Trust says, days after killing Emir, bandits abduct over 150 in Gobert. This is very daring because this is the same place where the Emir had been kidnapped and eventually killed. Now we're hearing that bandits again have abducted over 150 people. Okay, IG hands over 20 rescued medical students to UNIMAID, UNUS VCs. That's some good news, at least coming from this last weekend. Tinubu others mourn as Emir of Ningi buried amid tears. Court freezes 32 bank accounts linked to end bad governance protests. What's more, 2 corpse trader killed as police Shiite clash in Abuja again. That happened yesterday. We hear around the Wuse area. How many riders? 3 riders. First one here says patrol vehicles burnt. Group's members came with bombs. Who is saying that? Well, you can always find out when you pick up a copy of today's issue of the Daily Trust newspaper. The last rider says policemen killed members. That's according to IMN, Islamic Movement in Nigeria. Those are the headlines for you from the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Juma will take us through The Guardian.
On the Guardian newspaper, below the template, we have FX execution. Hitches threatens, and you can find that on page 6. Food policy as farmers kick. And below all of that, we have Sirap asks Governor Wike to disclose details of Chinese loan. And then we have the untidy Serisi of NAS members pay package. And you can find that on page 15. Then we have 2 killed in Abuja, Shiite police clash, bandits kidnap 150 in Sokoto. Atiku chides Tinubu over citizens' rights violation, and you can find that on page 7. Okojuela asks politicians to stop weaponizing insecurity, and you can find more details on page 3 of The Guardian. Again, terrorist strike in Kaduna, kidnapped district head, 6 others. That's very worrisome, and you can find that on page 9. Enugu uncovers 2,640 goes pensioners, begins payment of council pensions. And still on The Guardian, we have Tunisian president reshuffles cabinet, replaces 19 members ahead of election, and you can find that on page 2 of The Guardian. So please go out and pick up a copy. And next is The Nation newspaper.
All right, so let's make it a national issue on The Nation newspaper. We go first to the headline above the nameplates of The Nation, which says Dangote, Otadola, Elumelu back federal government's moves to eliminate malaria. That's a good move. We thought we could find the name of Bill Gates here, who has always been in support of malaria, polio, and even HIV/AIDS. But it's good that this one is coming closer to home, with Dangote, Otedola, and Elumelu being big weights behind this initiative. But then the Star story says 2 policemen killed during clash with Islamic group in FCT. It was a bit of a bloody Sunday yesterday. All right, 3 policemen critically injured, 3 patrol vans torched, 52 El Zakzaki's men arrested. Court freezes 32 accounts of individuals, firms linked to August protests. Details are on page 5 of the Nation newspaper. Okonjo-Iweala converses economic policy consistency. VP says government, committed to rule of law. That's a good thing to say. $115 million on a port terminal ready for inauguration. Again, those details are waiting on page 5 of the Nation newspaper. Let's take it a notch to the bottom. Says SEC to deploy technology in eradicating unclaimed dividends. That is the Securities and Exchange Commission saying it will deploy technology in eradicating unclaimed dividends. That there has always been a lot of clutter in that regard, even in 2024. But we'll take our time now to flip to This Day newspaper, and Juma has those headlines for us.
All right, on This Day newspaper, above the nameplate, we have here, federal government moves to eliminate malaria, taps Dangote or Tedola Elumelu to drive effort to end scourge. And of course, we saw that on the Nation's newspaper as well, so it's making waves. And we have a rider, and it says, it's unacceptable to leave eradication in the hands of donor partners, says Dangote. Now, below the nameplate of This Day, on the right part of the paper, it says, fuel scarcity persists in Lagos, others. And below all of that, at NBA conference, Tinubu vows to protect rule of law, tolerate dissenting voices. And we have two riders, and it says Okojuela expresses concern about slow pace of Nigeria's development. Lagos has more women in judiciary than any other state, says Sanwo-Olu. And below that, we have third coronation anniversary of the Olu of Warri. And below the paper, it says, police shite adherents in bloody clash in Abuja. Some officers dead, several injured. What an unfortunate incident there.
Yeah, it's quite a sad one.
Very sad. And that's about it on the paper.
It happens as our last paper.
Yes, it is.
On the program this morning, we're trying to keep it an abridged version of Global Morning,
Yes.
Monday's edition. But the important thing is you've got to take out time and take the initiative as well to look at these papers for yourself and stay ahead of the news. But yesterday's clash, Jomai, was for many people unexpected.
Really?
Yes, it was disheartening. We understand that the IG had addressed some of the issues, but we also know and expect that the police will not sleep on this one. All right, they will have to get to the root of it. All right, look for those who are responsible, because you can't have a country in 2024 where people can just wake up and take the laws into their hands, even if they are law enforcement, for example. It can never be excused.
No.
All right. We understand, for example, that the police have at least 52 suspects in custody, but it shouldn't end there. We should see some fairness, we should see some equity, we should see justice, and we should also see some scapegoats in the eye of the law. Because the fact of the matter is we have a set of laws that guide us. And if we allow people to overstep their bounds and then take the laws into their hands and you kill policemen, then that means there's some fighting that must be done in some sense, in such a way that people understand that no matter how highly placed you are, you can't just take the laws into your hands and go scot-free with it. Because if that happens, there's already a bad precedent set. It means it's just a matter of time. Many other people will follow suit.
And as we know, there's a lot of controversies around that, the shite people, like say that sec. And yes, you cannot take laws into your own hands. I'm sure investigations will be done. And those
course,
that
naturally.
are behind these this violence that took place yesterday, that killed some law enforcement agents, will get to the root of the matter. It's just unfortunate that we just have to keep tab and keep following, and it's just unfortunate, really. And that we say general. We just came out from Ed-Band governance. We do not need all of these issues and all of that. We need to find headway and create that balance, which is very important. Seriously.
You know, I also saw a headline a while ago about malaria, an effort being made now by the federal government, you know, to tackle it. And we understand the government has nominated, or as they say, tapped Tedola, Elumelu, and Dangote to lead that initiative. Of course, some people will say, well, it's because they have a lot of money, so the federal government wants to also tap into that. But I think this is far beyond money. I strongly believe that this is also something that has to do with the fact that these gentlemen have clouds. All right, they've come to be able to build some sort of reputation for themselves as, you know, not just African business leaders, but as global icons in their own rights, in such a way that they're able to attract foreign partnership, all right, into these. Malaria has hurt Africa for many decades.
Yes, it has.
You know, it's interesting how you find that 24 years into a new millennium, people still die of malaria. even though we are going to say it's village people in some cases. So if we're having this kind of conversation right now, I think it's not only timely, it is long overdue, because we need everybody to throw their hat in the ring when it comes to the fight against malaria. But the good thing now is, Juma, we understand there's a vaccine in place to help deal with malaria. Because it's interesting, again, this has some political element to it, how that we quickly found vaccine to COVID, all right? But then we've been talking vaccine, as I say, up and down about malaria for several decades. Yes. And today we understand there's that vaccine. We hope it doesn't get politicized. We hope Africa doesn't get shortchanged.
True.
We hope that it will answer the question of how do we find a vaccine for this deadly monster. You know, I have a sister who is a long-standing nurse. At the point she told me as a teenage boy then that, look, people should be more afraid of malaria than HIV/AIDS. I don't know if I have the professional proficiency or competence to have that conversation. But you see, I think the message she was sending to me and the other guy was listening at the time was to say that people should not deify HIV/AIDS as though malaria is nothing. The fact that malaria can knock you down for 2 days and the third day you're back on your feet does not mean that it's something that should be taken lightly. But again, beyond that, we must be able to find value for every form of investment we're making in this direction. We can't bring people like Otedola, Dangote, and Elumelu into this kind of thing, bringing all of the technical know-how, putting all of the resources. Then in the end, we'll come back to what my mom would call square one.
And you meant at the beginning of the program, you said something. Nigeria, we're not where we used to be. And then on this day, Dangote said something. He said it is unacceptable to leave eradication in the hands of donor partners. It means that Nigeria have decided to go ahead, taking a step forward to be a part of this eradication process when it comes to malaria in our own country, which is good. In fact, it's kudos that we have our people when it comes to Nigerians, not foreigners coming in to tell. Like you mentioned, the likes of Bill Gates and all of that. You know, he's part of all of this when it comes to polio, malaria, and all of that. But we have our own people. Dangote, the likes of
Are we using them?
Exactly. Dangote, Elumelu, and of course, Otedola coming in here to ensure that there is an eradication of malaria. It's a step in the right direction. Let's see how well this plays out. And like we said, we hope it's not politicized, and we hope nothing goes wrong. Well, at least Nigeria have begun. I think there's like an awakening.
Right.
Like we've decided to take it up a notch a bit. We've decided to take the bull by the horn, and we have decided to come forward to be part and parcel of this particular monster, like you call it, that has killed millions. A lot of people, both children and adults, malaria that you see and we hear every day that we take so lightly. Hey, it's just malaria. Some people even self-medicate. Do you know that? When it comes to malaria.
And there are underlying factors for that.
Oh my goodness. Like me, for one, for everyone that knows me, everyone, medical doctor, I do not self-medicate. It doesn't matter how big or how small. The thing is, that's what we do in Nigeria. A slight headache, we just term it as malaria. It's malaria.
And sometimes you even have the drugs readily available.
Oh my goodness, you just go to the pharmacy and please give me malaria drugs, and that is it. You don't even go for a test. You don't even know whether it's stress, because a lot of things can cause these issues when it comes to the headache, when it comes to dizziness. It could be stress, but we just term it as malaria. And really, this has to be, we must actually nip this in the bud. We have to talk about, a lot of awareness needs to be made when it comes to this particular eradication of malaria.
I particularly feel impressed with the fact that somebody in the capacity of Dangote is saying that we can't leave eradication of malaria to donor partners.
We shouldn't.
You see, in 2015, I spoke with a few doctors, consultants, all of them, at a teaching hospital, all right? Of course, 2015, that was at the twilight of the Millennium Development Goals. The world was just wrapping up. Of course, Nigeria was caught napping in that sense at that point. Now, I spoke with them about several things, both on and off camera. And what I do remember very clearly was one of the doctors telling me that while it is beautiful, it is good, it's a blessing in itself that you have donor partners bringing in the expertise, bringing in their money, bringing in equipment into the country, all right, to support whatever health-related cause they want to. I mean, call it malaria, call it HIV, call it cancer, what have you. He said, look, the challenge is when these guys come, first, they don't even believe in our data. They don't trust the integrity of our data. So they are going to push your data aside. That's the first. The second is these guys also want to play this principle of he who pays the piper dictates the music.
Exactly.
So if they come into the country and they say, well, I know you guys are shouting all over the place about malaria. We are not here to do malaria. We're here to pay attention to polio. All right? You can't make them bend over backwards. They are going to pay attention to polio, even though malaria may be a bigger problem for the country at the time, because they are bringing their money, they are providing technical leadership. All right, so Nigeria as a country, the health system, the leadership within the healthcare system as a whole must raise its game, must go back to the drawing board, must be able to say, look, yeah, we've been here too long. It's time to move on. And we must look inwards. We must be able to bring about some ingenuity, all right, to drive indigenous initiatives. Of course, nobody can go the whole hog all by themselves. You are going to need partners beyond even your country and the continent. But there must be something substantial that you already have in place. Otherwise, it's going to be same old, as I say. For example, I remember when late Professor Oshotime, blessed memory, all right, we're still here. I mean, his likes, they were still here running a NACA, for instance, before he moved on to the World Health Organization and all of that, I mean, UNICEF and what have you. They did all they could. They brought in their best, you know, home and abroad to be able to drive the narrative around HIV/AIDS, support for them, antiretrovirals, and what have you. But the question is, between then and when he left the scene, so to speak, how much more traction have we gained? How much more mileage have we recorded? I think these are the questions that should agitate our minds, whether we are in the health sector or not. Because a while ago, Juma, you and I were talking about the Japa syndrome. They say there's no smoke without fire. Nothing just happens all by itself. There must be underlying problems. And those are the problems we must spend the next few days, few months, and few years fixing.
And these are the underlying problems. We need answers. We need individuals who are professionals in this particular sector to come out and tell us what is actually going on. What efforts have you made than relying on foreign donors? We have the brains. Nigerians are very intelligent people. You go out of the shores of Nigeria and you know the impact Nigerians are making. You will be shocked. So really, like you've said, we need to know how far this has gone. It's very important.
It is. All right, let's take another quick break here, everyone. You're still watching Global Morning, Monday's edition with Uya Gmofegbe and Jumaya Manson. When we return, we'll bring you a few other segments on the program. Do stay with us.
All right, you're welcome back from that very short break. And more papers have just rolled in now, so let's just continue on the newspaper review. We have the Daily Independent. And above the caption of the Daily Independent, we have debt burden may impede Nigerians' drive to economy recovery. And it says here on the Daily Independent, Okojuala warns federal government to keep public debt within sensible limits. Below the nameplate of the Daily Independent, we have battle for 130-year-old First Bank may impact its fortunes. And investors are the ones saying that. And we have two riders. Boardroom Squabble threatens 350 billion naira capitalization plan. And the second rider says shareholders ask parties to shite sword defer on CBN's role. Now, below the nameplate, below all of that, it says IGP hands over 20 rescued medical students to their VCs. PDP crisis. Bode George urges gladiators to drop personal ambitions. Surap asks minister governors to disclose details of Chinese loan liabilities. Student loan scheme is for all. No one is excluded. Presidency assures. Catholic bishop calls for return to regional system of government. And more troubles for telcos ISPs as Sterling deepens operations in Nigeria. And next on the newspaper review, we have the Nigerian News Direct, and Uyi will be taking us on that.
All right, let's go directly to that one now. Above the nameplates of it, you have a picture of the governor of Ogun State, Dagbo Abiodun, says Abeokuta Ota Lagos Road. Dagbo Abiodun assures residents of completion in 18 months. That's quite reassuring for the people in that state, and particularly this area. That's on the Nigerian News Direct. Okay, that's the headline above the nameplates. And then still above the nameplates of the Nigerian News Direct says April's fiscal report reveals widening deficit, plummeting consumer credit. That headline has a picture of the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Dr. Yemi Cardoso. Then the Star Story reads, you are adopting sham subsidy regime to fund your 2027 ambitions, Atiku to FG. The writer says, urges FG to approve Shell Renaissance Mobile Seplat deal. All of those details are on page 21 of the Nigerian News Direct, today's edition. A power crisis. Nigerian students decry power outages as soaring electricity bills cripple academic activities. Enugu government uncovers 2,640 ghost pensioners, clears backlog for over 7,000 pensioners. Ghost workers never end. Their shadow is always looming large.
Exactly.
Across states, even in the federal civil service. And you're wondering, at what point are we going to have closure on this phenomenon? But I'm not sure Juma and I have that answer this morning.
Don't.
Abuja, 2 police officers killed, 3 stabbed in Shites attack. We told you that was from yesterday, actually. But then we have another paper here, and that is the Daily Sun.
All right, let's give you some very sunny news on the Daily Sun. And beside that template, it says malaria. Federal government picks Dangote or Tedola Elumelu in effort to end scourge, which is a step in the right direction, I would say, my own opinion. And that you will find on page 27. Now, below the template, it says Catholic bishops warn of more youth protest. And we have one rider there, and it says, say country sitting on ticking time bomb. And below that, we have NBAD governance. Court freezes 32 individual firms' bank account. We fueled your plots to destroy our aviation sector. AON hits Fairfax African Fund. And the writer says, group predicts economic drone for Nigerian airlines. Carlo disassociates itself from Abia APC spokesman's outburst. Atiku slams Tinubu over subsidy scam, rights abuse, and the writer says asks FG to explain why Oando got accelerated approval in AGP ENN purchase. Manufacturers abandon grid electricity as federal government cries out over 5,155 megawatt unutilized power. And you can find that on page 24. Act on call for new constitution, Onyaoku tells Tinubu. And here it says 2 cops killed, vehicles burnt as police Shiites clash in Abuja. And the writer there says Islamic sect claims police killed several of its members during peaceful procession. Enugu uncovers 2,640 ghost disease pensioners on payroll. And an unfortunate incident there when it comes to 2 cops killed. Here, that's the rider on this shared news that says Islamic sect claims police killed several of its members during peaceful procession. And you know their procession, they just take a long walk. Have you seen?
Yes,
You've
yeah.
seen? And they just walk calmly, just walking quietly. But I'm sure investigations will be to be done.
So get to the root of it.
We need to get to the roots of it because really, I'm not their spokesperson, Shai, but we have to create a balance. You know, I've seen their procession and it's really peaceful, except when it comes to cases where I'm sure something must have played out yesterday. And for the Shiite individuals to have arms, that's something we should look at also. And the police, what must have triggered the outburst yesterday, something that we should look at. So I'm sure we'll get to the roots of the matter. And up next is the Vanguard.
Okay, the Vanguard happens to be our last paper for this morning, so let's go there. All right, above the nameplate, court freezes 32 accounts linked to end bad governance protests. That's on the Vanguard newspaper. Still staying with the Vanguard this morning. Says FG moves to eliminate malaria, picks Dangote or $10 Elumelu to drive efforts. Yes, on the Vanguard newspaper. Catholic bishops canvass regional government, ask Tinubu to fight hunger grafts on the Vanguard newspaper this morning. All right, what's more? Nigerians hope for lower cement price deems. Why is that? Why can't Nigerians buy cement at an affordable price? Well, you find an answer, I'm sure.
Especially when it's made here.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
I mean, we
like
have
really
quite a number of manufacturers who are indigenous to us.
Exactly.
But then you can find details on page 20 of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. And then you have the big story here that says executive order on medicaments. The federal government yet to implement 2 months after. Well, I think that's another concern that people have about all of these state of emergency and policy announcements from government with little or no action being taken in that direction.
True.
But we're not done with the Vanguard just yet, everyone. This particular headline has like 4 riders. The first one reads, FG still working on implementation framework 2 months after. That's according to Minister. Delay not worth it. People are dying. All right. Oladi Igbolu. Government must progressively intervene in high, tariffs. Akintayo. And then the last one here says implementation details must be properly worked out. So it's a bit of a composite issue that we are dealing with right here. But then that's all we have from the papers this morning. Just also remind you that at the top of the hour we have the Global AM News for you, so you don't want to miss that as well. But you see, the issue of health, I mean, we've talked about that for a while.
Yes, we have.
But in this particular case, it was 2 months ago that government had talked about medicaments and some sort of import issue around, this very important case. And then you're wondering why it will take 2 months. But then experts are saying that these things don't happen overnight, that you need time to put all the necessary framework in place, work out the fine details, as they say, in contracts. And then what else? Maybe some hiccups may have also popped up between when that announcement was made and today. But we must understand that we're talking about health here.
Exactly.
And like one of the writers says, people are dying.
Exactly. I was going to say that. I just wanted you to finish. This is health. It's not like we need a budget for maybe to build something. This is life we're talking about. So it's very important that we take action as immediate as possible. There's some sectors that you shouldn't just lay back and say, oh, it's going to, 2 months is enough. No. 2 months, people have died in the space of 1 week, 2 days. So we should take prompt action. Is very important. 2 months for me, it's a very long time for these decisions to be made, all of these things to be made, checks and balances. No, this is something that needs immediate action. This is health we're talking, this is life we're talking about. There's some people that need a surgery that can save their lives. You know, you need to spring into action. It's very important.
I totally agree with you, but we also need to now realize that as it stands right now, the issues are becoming more hydra-headed. On the one hand, you're talking about the manpower across the different spheres in the health sector. You're also talking about investments. You're also talking about things around salaries and emoluments of doctors in particular. I mean, we just mentioned at the top of the program this morning that doctors are starting their strike this morning, and it's a nationwide strike.
Yes, it is.
Unlike the ones you hear in one state here, another state there, or some teaching hospital or some federal medical center. But today, this one is nationwide. And of course, Global TV will keep an eye out for our viewers just to keep you abreast of that development.
Exactly.
We're taking a quick break now.
Yes, we
are. When next we come up, it will be time for the Global AM News. To stay with us, everyone.
Don't go anywhere.
By your name, you say global. So global is a big coverage. So you are taking a big name, but you're starting from from scratch. So that big name, by the grace of Almighty Allah, you achieve that. You will appreciate your activities, your reportage, and everything you are doing. Do it with the fear of Almighty God. Step by step, you'll be growing very, very globally. Get your things right, and then report rightly. And then inshallah, sky will be your minute.
want to go further to congratulate you on being on DSTV 365. Yeah, channel 365 is an awesome thing. Congratulations, and I will enjoy each and every one to keep on watching Global TV.
This is Global TV. For your current affairs, for your current information, ideas, education, entertainment news at the best. Channel 365 on DSTV. You have just come alive into a new phenomenon in the media industry. Keep watching. Stay tuned.
Keep watching Global Television on DSTV channel 365 for your news and all national issues and international breaking news. Watch Global TV.
Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to AM News on Global Television, Coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja, I am Jumai Manson. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and free to air on Nicomsat. Now the news in full. President Bola Tinubu has mourned the Emir of Ningi in Bauchi State, Unisa Danyaya, in a statement released by his spokesman, Andrew Ngalale. The president commiserated with the people of Ningi Emirate and the Bauchi State government over the monarch's death. The president prays for the repose of the soul of the departed traditional ruler and condoles with his family and all those grieving the loss. Vice President Kashim Shettima has reiterated the significance of marital and family values in the nation's building, calling on parents and couples to exercise patience and love in their families, which will reflect on the larger Nigerian society. Shettima, who was a special guest at the wedding of Keziah Kefas, daughter of Taraba State Governor Dr. Abu Kefas in Jalingo, all reflected on the bittersweet nature of parenthood. The vice president emphasized key elements for a successful union, stating that some of the most essential qualities in marriage are communication, patience, tolerance, perseverance, and love. The need for media organizations to refocus their attention on reporting women's health has come to the fore. At a media parley to straighten accountability in progress, in Kano State, experts say there is an urgent need for a change in approach to reporting women's health issues. Organized by the Kano State-led accountability mechanism with support from Pipefinder International, the media interactive meeting is geared towards encouraging journalists to report issues related to women's health across Kano State by holding government and relevant agencies accountable. Idris Jibrin tells us more.
Organized by the Kano State-led accountability mechanism with the support from Pathfinder International, this media interactive meeting is geared toward encouraging journalists to report issues related to women's health across Kano State by holding the government and relevant agencies accountable.
Really holding people accountable in Nigeria is difficult. Like, since I came to office, nobody holds me accountable. Even I'm happy that somebody from the house is around. They just say I should send mid-year performance, and that's all.
Over the years, government and non-governmental organizations have been working to find a lasting solution to women's related issues, which are believed to be poorly or completely underreported by the media. Hence, these experts believed that the need for change in approach is necessary.
Where exactly are we? Perhaps in strengthening this and then measuring progress, we need to also look at, are we really doing the right thing? One of the things is changing mindset, changing approach. One of the approach is this: the monitor, review, and act. Is this still the same? Is it still holding us accountable?
Always a sad story looking at our indices of maternal mortality and perinatal mortality. So it's very crucial for us to have this kind of tally, because I think even though there are so many strategies in place that really accounts for all what is happening, even the poor indices, but then I think this is another avenue for us to see how we are going to brainstorm and have more ideas to strengthen the women's health, especially the girls' aspect.
According to the Kano State-led accountability mechanism, the problem of funding, training and manpower are some of the issues that needs to be addressed despite pocket of achievements recorded within the last couple of years.
There are a lot of barriers, if we look at it, that constrain women to access that contraceptives as they were. So these barriers can be education, can be lack of capitals, economic aspects, a lot of things. So A360 doesn't just focus on that contraceptives. We look at how we can support women to break those barriers.
While the media is expected to redouble its efforts toward reporting women's health, experts also promise to collaborate with journalists in providing data that will aid the work of the media in strengthening their commitments.
One person has been killed while several others injured after 13 houses collapsed in Kofa Meta area of Kano State. The incident followed heavy rains that wreaked havoc in the neighborhood. Moving on now, Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu will lead his colleagues from the southwest prominent Yoruba leaders and other relevant stakeholders at the Yoruba National Day lecture scheduled to take place on Monday at Professor Wole Soyinka Lecture Theatre, University of Ibadan. Governor Sanwo-Olu, who also serves as the chairman of the occasion, will deliver a lecture entitled National Unity and Agitation for Self-Determination, the Way Forward for Nigeria. The Action People's Party has called on the River State Governor Siminalayi Fubara to seek re-election under his platform in 2027, even as it said the governor neither owns the party nor is a member of the fold. The state APP chairman Sonny Wakakoro stated this when the immediate past leadership of the party in the state led by Kenneth Atata paid him a solidarity visit at the party secretariat in Port Harcourt, the state capital. Wakekoro said the party would make a statement with the October 5th local government election in the state, saying it determined to change the narrative in the state. The Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMNET, had forecast a series of thundery and rainy events across the country from Sunday through Tuesday. In its weather outlook release, NIMNET predicts thunderstorms in the northern states of Borno, Jigawa, Taraba, Adamawa, Bauchi, and Gombe during the morning hours on Sunday. The agency says it further anticipates that thunderstorms will extend to most parts of the northern region in the afternoon and evening hours. Minister of Defense Mohammed Badaru has donated 20 million naira to Jigawa government to support relief efforts of the state for residents affected by the recent flood disaster. The Director of Information and Public Relations, Ministry of Defense, Henshaw Okubike, stated that Badaru made the donation when he visited the Jigawa governor to commemorate with him on the flood which ravaged the state and resulted in loss of lives and property. The Chief Judge of Ondo State, Justice Olushola Odesola, has set up an investigative panel to look into the circumstances surrounding the judgment delivered by Chief Magistrate Tokwe Aladajani of the State Chief Magistrate Court sitting in Ile-Oluji, Okegbo local government area, as the court sentenced the man to 3 years imprisonment for stealing. A statement signed by the Chief Registrar of the State Judiciary, Yetunde Ajalaku, said the judiciary is disturbed about the judgment and the uproar of his generated on social media within the outside the state. The Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director of Ultimate Health, HMO Lekon Ewenla, has called on the federal government to enforce stricter compliance with the National Health Insurance Law to increase the enrollment of the Nigerians in the scheme. Ewenla argued that without a more robust enforcement strategy of the law to bring on board more Nigerians in the informal sector, the goal of the universal health coverage may remain unattainable. He emphasized the need for government to play a more active role in ensuring that both employers and individuals comply with existing health insurance policies. A veteran-born businessman, Ibinusi Nasuke, has excreted 68 wraps of cocaine after he was arrested by operatives of the Nigerian Drug Law Enforcement Agency at the Murtala Muhammed International Airport in Lagos. The NDLEA had on October 12 arrested a Vietnam-born businessman, Paul Umbaduha, at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport after he tested positive for ingesting cocaine. Mbaduha excreted a total of 88 wraps of cocaine weighing 1.710 kilograms in a statement released on Sunday. The NDLEA spokesman Femi Babafemi said Insuke was arrested while attempting to board the first flight out of Lagos to Abuja. The regional editor of The Conversation Africa and investigative journalist Adejuwon Soyinka has been released. Operatives of the Department of State Service arrested Soyinka at the Murtala Muhammed International Airport in Lagos on Sunday. Soyinka was picked up shortly after arriving from the United Kingdom. Now over to Niger State government has called on the Nigerian army to deploy its troops to communities in the state presently under the siege of bandits. The state's acting governor, Yakubu Garba, made the call during a chat with newsmen during a Feder prayer for 13 farmers killed by bandits in the Shiroro local government. The call followed a series of attacks on several local governments in the state, while the residents were either killed or abducted. In some cases, shops were razed after looting. Miyati Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria has condemned the abduction, torture, and brutal killing of Alhaji Isa Bawa, the Serkin Gobril of Gatawa Southern Local Government, Sokoto State. The National Secretary of McBan, Malam Bello Aliyu Gatomo, made the condemnation in a statement in Abuja. Aliyu Gatomo said the killing of the traditional ruler was not only traumatic, but it symbolized the barbarity of perpetrators. You're watching AM News, coming to you live on Global Television from the Nigerian's capital, Abuja. When AM News returned, Telegram CEO Pavel Durov arrested at French airport. Details of these and more right after this break. You're welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, this is Global Television, bringing you live broadcasts of AM News. Thank you for staying with us. Over now to our business desk. Nigeria is seeking World Bank's approval to restructure $650 million loan allocated to the Nigerian Improved Child Survivor Program for Human Capital. The restructuring paper says the request follows the midterm review of the project, which highlighted the need for strategic adjustments to better align with the government's evolving approach to health sector reform, particularly in child and maternal health. Former Nigerian ambassador says the new upward review of the fees of Nigerian passports will not reduce the Japa syndrome, but rather worsen the hardship afflicting the people. The Nigerian Immigration Service recently announced a 100% price increment for the passport will begin on September 1st, 2024 to ensure the quality and integrity of Nigerian standard passport system. The service said a 32-page passport booklet with 5-year validity, previously changed at 35,000 naira, has increased to 50,000 naira, while 64-page passport booklet with 10-year validity, which was 70,000 naira, will be 100,000 naira. Nigeria's electricity distribution companies collectively racked in about 3.95 trillion naira revenue between 2019 and the first quarter of 2024. Data from the National Bureau of Statistics showed. MBS data revealed an upward trajectory in revenue generation over the past 5 years, as power distributions made 482.6 billion naira in 2019, 526.8 billion naira in 2020, 761.2 billion naira in 2021, 828.1 billion naira in 2022, 1.07 billion naira in 2023, and 291.6 billion naira in the first quarter of 2024. Experts attribute this consistent growth in revenue to several factors, including ongoing tariff adjustments moving towards cost-reflective pricing, which has allowed the discos to align revenue with the cost of providing electricity. The federal government has been urged to sell the government-owned Port Harcourt, Warri and Kaduna refineries to fund modular ones. All 3 refineries are under the management of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited. The federal government oil firm, the Crude Oil Refineries Association of Nigeria, made the call for the sale of the refineries in an interview, saying that it is only the way out of the insistent fuel crisis in the country. Minister of State for Defense Dr. Bello Matawalle has donated 50 trailer loads of fertilizer to members of the state chapter of the All Progressive Congress in Zamfara State. The minister's donation was handed to the secretary of the party by the chairman of the state chapter of the APC, Tukur Dan Fulani. In a statement, the public secretary of the party, Alhaji Idris, said the commodity was for distribution to ABC members across the state as part of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's agricultural transformation program. Dan Fulani said the minister's gesture to the APC in the state will boost the agricultural output, economic growth, and development. Kano State Governor Kabir Yusuf has commissioned a multi-million naira Dambatan International Cattle Market upgraded through a collaboration between the state government and Islamic Development Bank funded Kano State Agro-Pastoral Development Project. This was made in a statement issued by the governor's spokesperson, Sanisu Tofa. He said the initiative is toward the modernization of the livestock value chain, especially in the area of transport logistics, to reduce mortality and improve a healthy environment. On our foreign scene, Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant has announced a 48-hour nationwide state of emergency after the Israeli military launched what it called preemptive strike in Lebanon. The statement from Gallant office says the declaration on the state of emergency enables the Israeli Defense Force to issue instructions to the citizens of Israel, including limiting gatherings and closing sites where it may be irrelevant. Lebanon's health ministry says one person was killed in an Israeli strike on a vehicle in the country's south after Israel launched, which it called preemptive strike against Hezbollah. The Amal movement of Hezbollah Ali later announced a fighter from Kem had been killed. The ministry also reported two people, including a Syrian man, were wounded in a series of Israeli raids in the south. Chief Executive of Telegram Messenger, commonly known as Telegram, a cloud-based cross-platform instant messaging service, Pavel Durux, have been arrested by French police at an airport north of Paris. Durux was detained after his private jet had landed at Le Bourget Airport. Officials says the 39-year-old billionaire was arrested under a warrant for offenses related to popular messaging app. The investigation is reportedly about a lack of moderators, with Davros accused of failing to take steps to curb criminal uses of Telegram. In sports, Nigerian football striker continued to pay tribute to Christian Obi, the former Heartland head coach who lost his life in a ghastly accident involving the team on Friday. The former Nigerian Youth International goalkeeper didn't survive the accident that occurred in Okiv while the Nez Millionaires were traveling to Abakaliki to participate in a preseason tournament with several players sustaining varied degrees of injuries. The incident has left the Nigerian football fraternity mourning, with the Nigerian Premier Football League Board and clubs paying tributes to the fallen star who kept goal for Nigeria at the 1985 FIFA World Youth Championship in Russia and the 1988 Olympic Games in Seoul, South Korea. Former Bayern Munich player and legend Lothar Matthäus has slammed former coach Thomas Tuchel for his leadership style at the club. Matthäus held that Tuchel attributed a lack of belief in his players' abilities were among the factors responsible for his short stay in the club. He added that such a situation was no good fit for the German giants, saying this was a big problem because he did not give players confidence. He lost a lot of players who were very important to Bayern Munich. And as we end the AM News, let's take a quick look at our top stories again. Flood has wreaked havoc and killed one person in Kano. Department of State Service has released journalist Shoyinka and withheld his passport. In business, the federal government has been urged to sell off Nigerians' refineries. And on our foreign scene, Lebanon ministry has said one person has died in Israeli strike. And finally, in sport, Matthäus has said Tuchel ran one-man show at Bayern. And that's it on the AM News, and it came to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Remember, we're on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276 and free-to-air Nicomsat. And its perimeters showing on your screen. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms by using a Global TV NG and the handles now showing on your screen. I am Jumai Manson. Thank you for watching. Good morning.